Welcome. You have joined the webinar about mission officers, sponsored by the United States Catholic Mission Association. I'm Don McCrabb. I'm going to share the screen so you can see our slides for the webinar. And just give me a moment for that. And here we go. There we go. We're very happy that you're able to join us this afternoon for this webinar about the Mission Director. We've titled it Hopes, Dreams, Griefs, and Anxieties, taking that from the Vatican II document. And we have two different kinds of mission directors, three, probably four different kinds. Clearly the diocesan mission directors for religious communities, and then mission directors for different agencies. And of course, we want to welcome you to this afternoon. The webinar should last an hour or less. Introductions. We have a nice panel for you. Bruce, you want to start us off?
Sure, Don, thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. I'm Bruce Carlson. I've been doing missions for the Diocese of Joliet since really 1996. I started as a volunteer, and the last almost 7 years ago, I came into the office as the missions coordinator. Basically, what I do is, as I like to say, I'm the chief travel guide. I set up all of the logistics and recruit people, oversee all of that operation for the diocese. We have a variety of different missions we'll talk about a little bit later that we send people to around the world and in the United States. And this is what I feel I've been called to do as my ministry and what God wants me to be involved in. So that's why I'm here, and hope to be here for quite a few more years.
Great, thank you very much, Bruce. Again, I'm Don McCrabb. I'm the Executive Director of the United States Catholic Mission Association. I'm coming up in just a few days, completing 4 years as the Executive Director. Started in December of 2015. My background is a pastoral theologian, working in campus ministry and ministry formation work. Nancy?
Good afternoon, everyone. As Donna said, my name is Sister Nancy. I am a Franciscan Sister of the Sacred Heart from Frankfort, Illinois. My mission experience began in 1978 when I went to Brazil to work in the missions there. That was even before we had Brazilian sisters. And I remained there until 2010, so it was my whole life practically. And when I came back, I naturally started looking for a job, and I heard through another sister that there was an opening in the mission office, the same mission office that Bruce works, which is the Diocese of Joliet. So I applied for the job, had an interview with the director, our director here, and I got the job. And that has been my experience in 2013. I am the director of formation for the adults who go on our mission trip. And I'm very happy to say that I will soon be completing a year on the national board of the USCMA.
Thanks very much, Nancy. Yeah. Well, we have introduced ourselves. We're operating in a webinar mode, but feel free to introduce yourself using the chat function. At the bottom of your window, you should see a control bar there, and you should have chat as an option. If you don't have chat as an option, on the right side it says more, and you can click on that, and chat should be an option for you there. And you can just introduce yourselves. We know that we have 11 participants right now who are on. including ourselves. Bob is on, Bob Eilenfeld. Bob, good to see you. Chris Lopez, Jenna Lee J, Ken Epps is on, also from Texas. Julia Wolf is on. So if you would just give a word about who you are and what your particular interest is today, you can put that to all, just to everyone, to all panelists and attendees, and you can click your message there. Ken just reported that he's representing Dallas in Maryknoll from Dallas. Jenna Lee J, she's from Amor y Asunción in Miami, Florida. Welcome, Jenna Lee. And so as you have a chance, feel free to drop us a note to all panelists and attendees using the chat function. Okay, having said all of that, I thought we would move on just to give you a little bit of a sense of what we're going to try and accomplish today. It's not a very full agenda. We'll, of course, spend a little bit of time on the feast day of St. Francis Xavier, with an opening prayer in his honor. We'll chat a little bit about the Extraordinary Missionary Month, elements of a mission office, the possibility of a mission office assessment, and then USCMA priorities for 2020 and next steps. So that's what our agenda is. Okay, so we're going to move into prayer. Bruce is going to lead us off. Bruce, put us in the mood for prayer.
Absolutely. Well, as we always do when we begin our prayer, let us begin in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Lord Jesus, you have sent us to proclaim the gospel to all nations. You have promised to always remain with us. Look kindly upon us gathered today on the feast day of St. Francis Xavier.
Pour out the abundance of your Spirit upon each one of our brothers and sisters, especially on those who are called to ponder upon the journey made and to plan what has still to be done, so that we may offer a more authentic service to mission.
Grant that we may ever be faithful to the gospel and to give an answer to the hopes which the world places before your church today. Stay with us, Lord, when we gather around the table of your bread and your word. And when we walk the paths of the world, side by side with our brothers and sisters, grant that we all find ourselves in heaven, our homeland, after having been members of the same family on earth. Amen. Saint Francis Xavier,
Pray for us. Thank you very much. Okay, so the first thing that we want to talk a little bit about is the Extraordinary Missionary Month. And we've heard different things about this. USCMA had a webinar in preparation for the Extraordinary Mission Month last spring. We've been in contact with people. We try to put resources on our website. Some of the things that seem to have emerged is diocesan celebrations. Some dioceses already do celebrations. Some did them for the first time. A lot of people tried to upgrade the ones that they already sponsor. Some places really invited the diocese or the local church into kind of a month of prayer. There were daily reflections taken from the text that was provided by the Vatican. So some of that was developed. Some places improved their websites, and some places really tried to focus on the diocesan story. Kind of the roots of all of our churches has a missionary story behind it. Clearly, Sister Dorothy Stang was featured in a number of activities Sister Dorothy was murdered in Brazil, and Nancy knew her and worked with the sisters down there. She could speak to that a little bit. So those are some of the things that we've heard. So Bruce, Nancy, what are your thoughts about the Extraordinary Missionary Month? What was the upside? What was the downside? And while Nancy and Bruce are sharing their perspective, feel free to leave a note in the chat about how you perceived the Extraordinary Missionary Month. Nancy, Bruce?
Well, when we first started looking at it, the material that came to the Vatican had a number of things offered as suggestions. However, for a long time, Bruce and I have been conscious of the fact we needed to get into the parishes to bring mission awareness, but we have a very small staff, and we do have quite a bit of work with our mission trips. So we decided we would take on the year, and during this year, our plans are to create a database of all the mission activities that are going on in our diocese, and then to begin moving out into the parishes to work on mission awareness.
Great, good. Anything to add to that, Bruce?
Well, in a way, for the number of years that we've been doing mission, the Extraordinary Mission Month was already something that we had been doing in our own way. So this was just one way of making what our work is a little more formal within what the overall church is trying to do. For the number of years we've been reaching out to our missioners, asking them to help promote the idea of mission within their parishes, different things that we've been doing to invite people into mission on our with our program. So we've been maybe a little bit of the ahead of everybody else in what we're doing for the number of years that we've had the opportunity to develop missions and have sent people on mission. So this is a great way to have the whole church be formalized with what we're doing and even get the word out to more people and what mission is all about, not only in going places, but how do you do mission within your own parish and within your own community. I like the idea of telling people that we need to get out of our parishes and into the world to proclaim that message.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. I noticed, Jerry Kelly, Jerry, I noticed that you're on, and I'm going to promote you to a panelist, see if you can join us here. So Jerry, you should be able to speak as soon as I unmute you. Jerry, I know that you were involved with some of the plans in your diocese. Could you share a little bit about how the Extraordinary Missionary Month unfolded in your area?
Yeah, we have a wonderful Archdiocesan Mission Council here. So we met and reflected on this, and we produced a video to be shown at all of the parishes during the month of October. And then we had a wonderful Mission Sunday gathering of all the mission sending groups. So we had a wonderful turnout at St. Lawrence Parish in Sugar Land, Texas. So there's a lot of energy involved around that, and more groups becoming involved. Especially pleased with our Hispanic young adults. We received a message from the Laredo Diocese asking for assistance with the asylum seekers. And they responded immediately and organized a number of parishes to go there and assist the asylum seekers, and also to bring supplies and needs for the people there. So I'd say the overall the mission thrust is strong here in the Archdiocese of Galveston-Houston, and reaching out around to the state of Texas then too. this evening even, we'll have a conference call with the board for the Texas Mission Council. So they've been promoting that on the state level also.
Great.
So very pleased with the number of mission groups that are going forth, and also for the promotion that was given to mission through the Archdiocese Mission Council and the video that we produced.
Great, great. How long was that video, Jerry?
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that available someplace?
Oh yes, yeah. We'll get that around too for anyone who would like to use it.
Yeah, I mean, if you can send the link to me or something like that, that would be great. I mean, it would just be good just so people could see as an example of some of the things that they've done. So good, good, good. Again, if there's anything you would particularly like to share in terms of what happened with the Extraordinary Month in your area, please feel free to do that. I'm noticing some of the chats here. Father Lawrence from the Diocese of Fort Worth is here. Father Lawrence, welcome. Great to meet you. Chris Lopez, the Associate Director of Missions and Discipleship in the Diocese of Austin, is also on the call. He just, Chris, I don't know if you are he or she, sorry, but let us know in the chat which one you are. But Chris just completed the first 30 days. He is a he. Okay, thanks, Chris. So he just completed his first 30 days. Welcome. You are now a senior member of the group. We just let you jump in real quick here. Okay. Again, any other thoughts about the Extraordinary Missionary Month? I do think that there was a little bit of a sense that maybe the church didn't embrace it as robustly as we had hoped, generally speaking. But I do think some really positive seeds were planted. And of course, it's up to us to try to nurture those seeds. And I think you'll see as we continue to talk how some of those seeds have been planted in at least the strategies for USCMA. Okay, so now we're shifting to the second topic, the next topic, which is elements of a mission office. And what would be really helpful to us is for you to be able to tell us, share with us anything that we're overlooking. So this is just a list of activities that I've brainstormed. And as I'm looking at it, the first thing I noticed is that I missed the obvious, which is staff. Like Bruce and Nancy are staff. Bruce, Nancy, are there additional staff members that you have?
We have one other girl that works with us, Felicia. She's our mission assistant that helps us in all the processes that we have to go through to get a mission team put together.
Right, right. So any mission office is going to live within an organization and what the relationship is to that organization. Nancy and Bruce, are you a part of the diocese or are you separately incorporated?
Yes, we are part of the diocese.
Okay.
Yeah. We're in a diocesan building, so we share the same space, and our director and the main secretary are both full-time employees of the diocese. Bruce and I are part-time, as well as our operational assistant.
Okay, and what you're the director is the director just the director of mission, or is the director of a larger division?
Tom is the director for our Office for Human Dignity, and underneath him is missions, and we have Respect Life and Peace and Justice, and then also we have a new group which is starting up some other projects. And there's a couple of little things that fall underneath us that are there, but we're one piece of the office.
Okay, great, super, super. And then Jerry, would you describe your mission office, if you will, for the Maryknolls?
We have a mission office here, and we have several Maryknoll affiliates assist us in that. So we have good meeting space here, which is an excellent attribute that we have. The main thrust comes from the mission groups themselves. They meet regularly. I'm on 2 or 3 of their boards. So the logistics and the organization is mainly done on the local level. And that's what we, Deacon and Sister Nancy speaking, we don't have that here as such. So we organize our mission education going through the local leaders. That could be, I wish we could beef up the staffing at the archdiocesan level.
Jerry, I have a question for you, Jerry. Is there a mission office in your diocese that's diocesan?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Hilda Ochoa is the mission director. And we have our meetings of the mission council there at the chancery. But I think I was referring to that the work goes on in the parishes and the mission groups themselves, not so much at the archdiocesan level.
Mhm.
And Jerry, when you say mission groups, what are you talking about there?
Well, there's a wonderful medical mission of Divine Mercy go out of St. Lawrence and Sugar Land, 2 medical missions a year, one to Laredo, Texas, another to Costa Rica. We just finished one there with 52 members, went down there, attended to over 1,200 people in a week. The St. John Vianney Parish is very active, twice a year going down to the border for home repair, and we do missions in the evenings. Marvelous mission from St. Anthony of Padua Parish in the Woodlands, just north of Houston. 62 people went this year on a medical mission. Another 20 Hondurans joined us, serving in 5 communities down there. During spring break, the high schools go down and we assist them. They do home repair, vacation Bible school, home visits. And then the Hispanic young adults have been reaching out down on the border, doing various things. So this is kind of the thrust of groups that organize, and I'll be in Guatemala. The sending out servants goes there each year. One is a vision clinic up with the Quiche Indians, and another faith sharing. So these are the movements that are going on, and St. John Vianney now wants to go to Honduras in next January with various types of formation programs and serving orphanages. So it's this type of activity that's flourishing down here and is very bountiful.
Great. Thank you very much for that. So as you can see here on the screen, some of the elements of the mission office would be, of course, the World Mission Sunday. That seems to be a core element. And again, how that's done varies from diocese to diocese. Usually, dioceses will have a mission cooperative program. Now, for the mission directors of religious communities, they're on one side of the table doing that, and then of course the mission directors for the diocese are on the other side of that table. Nancy, you focus that for the Diocese of Joliet, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, yeah. Now, how many parishes participate in the mission cooperative program? Does all of your parishes participate?
No, and I have to be honest, say, unfortunately, it's not mandatory in our diocese. The pastors are free to refuse a missioner, and they're also free to invite their missionary friends, which we don't mind at all, as long as they follow the protocol. So we have, everything registered in our records. We have probably now about 120 parishes, and we can only take about 30 to 35 groups because we like to make sure they have at least 2 parishes, because this way it'll help pay for their traveling expenses too, especially those who come from a foreign land.
Sure.
So, between the priests that have their friends and inviting missionary groups, lay, sister, and priest groups, it's always a challenge.
Right. Yeah, so that's really true. And that's certainly been our experience, is that each diocese is very unique about how they do the mission cooperative program, if they do it at all. Some dioceses see themselves as mission territory and really need to focus all the resources on building up the church locally.
Mm-hmm.
Mission education, of course, is also an aspect of what a mission office might be doing. Either that's K through 12, for example, or adult formation. I have that listed as mission animation. Then, of course, diocesan partnerships, diocesan mission trips. Bruce, you want to just mention a little bit about all the different kinds of trips? How many trips do you guys do a year?
What we have is we have 2 mission teams that go out and do mission to medical construction outreach, one to Bolivia, one to Philippines. We have another construction team that goes to Chinle, Arizona. Then we have 2 university teams to the Philippines, or one to the Philippines and one to Bolivia. So what's that, a total of 5 missions that we run throughout the year. We're working on a couple of other ideas. We're going to be starting one next year as a medical mission, teaching mission to Uganda. We'll bring in one of our universities here to share their nursing students with the nursing students at the university over there. And then Nancy and I were talking about this morning, mission that we're trying to start up in Palestine, which is at its very early stages. We're not ready to send people there yet, but hopefully next year we'll see us to go to the Palestine to get that initiated and make all the contacts we need there and start figuring out the logistics of how do you send a mission team there. So those are the ones we're working on right now.
Great. Thank you very much, Bruce. Chris was kind enough to send, he came up with a diagram that's on their website. We'll be happy to follow up with this and send the link out to everybody. But here's the core responsibilities for missions and discipleship. And you can see how they've broken that out in terms of the cooperative plan, Catholic Relief Services. That was one of the things. Some places, Catholic Relief Services is part of mission. Some places it's not. They collaborate with the Office of Evangelization and Catechesis, parish-based support, the Pontifical Mission Societies. So you can kind of see all the different elements of the mission office for the Diocese of Austin. Chris, thanks very much for sharing that. Going back to the other elements, parish partnerships. To what extent is the diocese supporting parish partnerships? Some dioceses really do not want parishes to develop parish partnerships. Other dioceses are very, very encouraging of that. Some places use fair trade as one of the aspects of their mission office. Some do local fundraisers, mass stipends. Some places collect mass stipends and they'll send them off to a diocese that they're in partnership with to help the local clergy there. Parish mission trips. Again, some dioceses are really supportive of the parishes doing mission trips, and others are less so. Mission projects, that's when a parish or a diocese sees a particular need in another place, and they basically it's a fundraising effort to support the development of a school or the building of a parish or something of that nature. So those are just some of the elements that we've been able to identify. If there's any other elements of your mission office that you don't see up here, or something that you want to emphasize, please let us know in the comment section. And Jerry, if you could just take a minute from your perspective, from Maryknoll, what other activities that do you do as a mission office for the Maryknoll Fathers and Brothers?
Well, we organize a number of formation programs here. We offer a weekend program, and then basically a 4-hour program, depending on the level of the group. And we try to promote this mission education in the schools through a Discover Your Neighbor program, which is very well developed. And the 4 times a year, there'd be educational materials sent to the school, both on the Catholic schools and also for the Catholic education programs in the parishes. So it's a number of programs are offered. We have another program for reaching out to young adults, because this is I think we're seeing this as a major challenge now. So there are several groups around the country that meet and reflect on young adults in mission, and so that they can help us to deepen how younger people now are understanding mission and becoming involved. So it's on a number of these levels that we're offering programs.
Great. Thank you. Several things. Elizabeth is from Diocese of St. Cloud is on. She talks about active missionaries in the field, mission groups like auxiliary groups, and mission priests serving in our diocese. Thank you very much for saying that, Elizabeth. That's really helpful. One of the things that your comments pointed to, some dioceses have an active mission that they're supporting. I know that the Diocese of Arlington, for example, has a mission that it supports. And when I mean it supports that, not only does it financially support that mission, but it actually sends priests from the Diocese of Arlington to that mission in the Dominican Republic. So, I mean, obviously that's an incredible investment in mission. And I believe the Archdiocese of St. Louis does the same thing. We just have a new member of our board, Father Tim, who was in that program and served in Bolivia for 5 years as part of that program. So that is another aspect of the mission office that's not been identified here. So that's really good. So you can see there's a lot of different kinds of activities that are going on in mission. Okay, so if you think of anything else, again, feel free to put that in the chat function. I'm going to move on here for a minute and just talk about the possibility of doing a mission office assessment. to see whether or not this is a service that USCMA should provide. And so I'm just going to talk a little bit about this, and then just if you could just, Nancy, Bruce, Jerry, just let me know what you think about it, and everybody else can put a note in the chat function. The idea is simply that it would be good if a mission office could have a third-party review of what they're doing. And what our technique would use, our strategy would use, is appreciative inquiry. The idea is what are you doing really well, and to identify those, and to identify those in relationship to your stated goals and objectives. So it's very customized to the individual mission office, and we would gather data. And in gathering that data, we would also look at what would be the next steps for your mission office. And that would then generate a diocesan mission plan with benchmarks and the possibility of assessment, impact assessment. Did we actually accomplish what we set out to do, and what were the benefits of that? How was things touched? I think this is really, this image is really wonderful. The root word for assessment is Latin, which means to sit beside. It's a way of accompanying someone. And so that's an idea that we've kicked around a little bit here at the office. And the question would be, would that be valuable to mission officers? Any initial thoughts about that?
Well, I can certainly see the value of it. From our experience here, I can say that we have so many tasks to do because of our mission trips, because of the MCP, that we move on. And to stop and to evaluate, because I see an evaluation the same as an assessment. And to help clear, why are we doing it? And not only an appreciative inquiry, which I think is important, because we do want to emphasize what we do well, but to not be fearful of looking at what we could do better, totally within the reality of the group. If you have a staff of 5 people, you're going to be able to do things much better than if you have just a staff of 3 people. So I think taking the reality of that mission office into consideration, I really feel that the points that you have here are very important, and I think we should help develop it and offer it.
Well, thanks. Bruce, any thoughts?
Yeah, the assessment here is something that everything needs to be looked at and reviewed to see what's working, what's not. That's part of what makes a mission. We're sort of looking at it from hindsight. When we started mission back in 1994, it was just a group of people that says, let's just do this mission, and they basically packed up their stuff and went down to Bolivia and said, we're here, what can we do? So it was sort of learning by the seat of the pants. One of our long-term missioners, Helen Bills, sort of coined the phrase, we were rank amateurs when we started. But as each mission came back with the experiences that we gathered, that became our learning as to say, well, that didn't work well, let's change it and do this. And that's how our missions have grown over the 25 years. I'd like to say that we've gone from adolescence into young adulthood as far as running missions. With 25 years of experience, we've learned so much in the details, the nuts and bolts, if you will, of how do you get a group of people from home to where you want to do mission and do it successfully, and then get them all the way back, and that they come back saying, wow, my life has been changed. That's what we do fairly well. There's always little challenges along the ways that you have to sort out. The one thing that we're trying to work on is to develop what I call an operations guide, so that we could document all of the things that we do run. Right now, it's sort of scattered around in different documents and things, but to put that into a book, so that if somebody came in new, we could say, here's how we do missions, and this is our operating guide. This would be a quick way to get somebody up to speed. That's one of my long-term projects that we're trying to work on to get that documented. And that's all things that you do from our business world. All of this is something that's been done before, so it's not new. It's just a matter of taking the right skills and putting them in place and recognizing how to manage them.
Right, right. Jerry, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, I think it's be a great contribution to the mission offices. You know, we're living in a world that's changing so rapidly. Our church is evolving. So many new challenges that we're confronting. And it's just difficult to stay abreast of everything that's happening. So the more that we sit with each other and share and listen, I think it's going to be a great contribution. So I would emphasize this, yes, very strongly, that we all need this, and it helps us. Then new ideas come into play, and other possibilities. But yes, the more we can do this, the better.
Thanks, Jerry. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for that. And if anyone else has any thoughts about it, again, feel free to share that in the chat function here. Just to give you a little bit of a sense of where this comes from, having served in ministerial formation for 12 years, I've worked with a number of assessment efforts. The biggest one, of course, being an assessment or a self-study that's done as part of the assessment for a college, for a seminary, for example. Colleges and universities do this all the time. They do an accreditation process, and part of the accreditation process is that you have to do a self-study and you have to have a site visit and those kind of things. And again, it's a way of having a third party, an objective review of a program. But more importantly, especially when it's done by USCMA or organizations like USCMA, it also starts to gather a rich database. So, in other words, what happens is that you can begin to compare yourself to an aggregate of others that have already done the study. So you can say, well, how are we doing? And you can say, well, this is how many Catholics are in our diocese. Well, how does this compare? How do we compare with a comparable diocese that's doing mission? And again, that's just a reflection of how you're doing and some other possibilities that you might consider. So those are some of the background ideas for this. Some of the service trips, some of the mission trips that are being done by colleges and universities are very interested in this question of impact or assessment. Not only is the question and assessment of what is happening to our people who are going on these trips, but the other question is what's happening to the people that we're visiting. So that's another aspect of the assessment.
And you
Okay.
I don't think you have it on here, Don, but, and perhaps it's implicated, but I think some kind of discussion or sharing should be done with the people we serve.
Right. Mm-hmm.
In our Philippine trip, I know at the hospital for the medical team, they have what they call the exit, and they, discuss some things that happened that particular mission trip. But I think it's important that we listen to people, especially the people we serve.
Great. That's really good. I mean, that would be a part of it, but I do think that that's something that should be really clearly spelled out as part of the process. So that's excellent. Thank you. Okay, moving along here a little bit. The USCMA priorities. This really emerged from the board recently, and just so everybody knows, this is not Mike Gable who's sitting here.
Really?
That is not.
It was.
That is not Mike Gable. It's just want everybody to know that is not Mike Gable. And this is twin brother perhaps, but that's not Mike Gable. This is actually a picture of a parish's dinner program, and the idea here is whose phone is ringing? Is that mine or yours?
Just went off. It was a fax.
Oh, that's your fax. Okay. So the forming of the missionary parishes. This is one of the priorities that USCMA has for 2020, and there's a couple of really key points here. One, when Bishop Barron spoke to the bishops at the most recent meeting in Baltimore, he talked about 5 points or 5 strategies to really reach out to the disaffiliated, or sometimes referred to as the nuns. These are the people who are not claiming a religious tradition. And some of his points are really interesting. Quickly, his 5 points is: 1, engage the disaffiliated in acts for justice. Well, we do that. Jerry, I was thinking of what you were saying earlier when you were talking about the young adults, the Hispanic young adults, organizing to do something down at the border. You're engaging them in doing something for justice. And work on behalf of justice is a characteristic of mission. So that's clearly part of it. Second, he, of course, talks about not dumbing down the faith, and that certainly is understandable. And for us, I think that's part of the enculturation process. Third, he talks about the importance of beauty as an access for people. And that makes sense to me as well. 4, clearly he talks about the modern or the contemporary medias, and which his program Word on Fire has done so incredibly well. And so we might want to start thinking about that in terms of mission. How do we begin to engage people in mission, and can we improve the quality of our materials to do so? And then finally, he talks about each parish becoming a missionary society. So, so clearly, this idea of forming missionary parishes is right in keeping with the priorities that the Committee on Evangelization and Catechesis. And Chris asked if I could repeat those 5 one more time. Yes, I'd be happy to, Chris. 1, of course, is to engage in social justice. 2 has to do with articulating the faith in an intelligible way, not dumbing down it, but really having a sense of this is what we believe and this is why it's important. 3rd is beauty. As a way of engaging people. And then 4th has to do with using contemporary media, social media, videos, YouTube, those kind of things, as a way of reaching out to people and engaging people. And then finally, forming, Bishop Barron called them, each parish a missionary society. So I thought that was very interesting. Now, it just so happens that USCMA just received a grant to, we have a small grant to fund 2 pilot projects. So we're looking for 2 parishes that we can work with to develop them into missionary parishes. And if those pilot projects prove to have promise, some success, then we'll receive additional grant monies to extend it to other parishes as well. So that's really good. And the other piece that I just want to mention here is this is going to be dealing with what I consider very substantial issues. One of those issues is the relationship between mission and evangelization. And sometimes those are seen as two separate and distinct things. And I think that's a disservice to everyone involved. So that's one question. Second, we know that the Holy Father, Pope Francis, talks a lot about missionary disciples, and we are all missionary disciples. Once we have said that, the question becomes, what role am I playing within the church? And perhaps missionary is a particular role or ministry within the church on behalf of the church. So I was thinking of the choir. The choir comes together to enhance the beauty of our worship, and missionaries come together to enhance our outreach into the world. So it's that breathing in and breathing out. Mission is that breathing out, moving out into the world to share the love of God poured out in Jesus. But I think that's a question, and sometimes it's hard. We're a both and faith, and sometimes it's hard to hold the both and. So we kind of want to collapse it to one side of the spectrum or the other. And so part of it is learning the ability, developing the ability to hold both. Part of holding both is what I call the St. Teresa missionaries. These are the people who are not able to go on short-term mission trips. They're not able to go with Bruce to some of the places that he's going. And because of their life situation, they're still called to mission, but how are they going to be doing mission in a more contemplative, prayerful way? And I think that aspect of mission is something that really needs to be cultivated and understood. Some of it needs to be challenged, and some of it needs to be celebrated. So I think that aspect of mission needs some work. And then finally, there's a real possibility that our missionary parishes could indeed have multiple missions. They could have a mission in their neighborhood. They could have a mission in another state, someplace across the country, or a mission partnership from someplace around the world. I mean, they could actually be supporting 3 different missionary activities, which is not uncommon. I mean, think of all the religious orders that have supported missions in various different locations around the world. So again, part of it has to do with the capacity of the parish. So, I mean, that's a big thing. So any thoughts that you have about that? Specifically, if there is some parish in your diocese that you think could really take advantage of this emerging program, we'd really like to have that connection. The second priority, and the board just discerned, we're going to be really focusing on angels unaware. If you're not familiar with that, there's a beautiful statue. Oh, Chris just asked a question here. Chris, I'll come back to your question in a second here. The Angels Unaware is this beautiful statue. It's the quote is from Angels Unaware, is from Hebrews, and talking about how there are angels among us and we're not even aware of them. And an artist has taken that idea and has woven in that to the whole question of migrations. And there's this beautiful statue that has been created, and it was just recently commissioned for the Vatican, and Pope Francis just recently blessed it, and it's now, as I understand it, it's now in St. Peter's Square. This is an incredibly beautiful statue. We want to look at that question. We want to look at Angels Unaware, mission with people on the move. And that's a very sensitive issue for us right now in the United States. And so we're going to go to El Paso, October 30th through November 1st for our conference. And it's not going to be just about the border. That's going to be a part of it. It's going to be an important part of it. It's going to ground us so that we can really encounter migrants. That's an important piece. But we also have to be aware that there's a lot of people on the move all over the world, in Africa, in Asia. We need to know what that's all about. And so we're going to be exploring people on the move. There are more people on the move today than ever before in human history, and it's going to get more. It's going to get more not only because of political or economic reasons, but also increasingly environmental reasons as well. So we will have an opportunity before the conference to do a border awareness experience. The missionaries of St. Columban will help us with that. They have a center on the border. And then the day after the conference, we have the opportunity to join the diocese for their annual border mass, where people gather at the border and have one liturgy that crosses both the United States and Mexico. So that's a very rich opportunity. We want you to know about that. But more importantly, we want you to kind of reflect on that, to ask yourselves, are we prepared to welcome people into our diocese, into our communities, people that are on the move? So that's one of the things that we want to be attentive to. Just two other ideas here real quick. We will be offering ourselves short-term mission trips. We're going to be offering that because some dioceses can't offer them, and we want to do a special outreach to young adults. So we're going to offer 4 trips, and we'll be getting more information out about that. And again, if your diocese doesn't really have organized short-term mission trips, or you want to learn more about it, this program is for you. And then finally, collaboration. USCMA has about 100 organizations that are members. We have about 1,000 individuals that are part of those organizations or just have joined USCMA on their own. And the question is these mission sponsoring organizations that could be a religious community, could be a diocese, could be a lay directed program. These organizations, they're mission sponsoring organizations. There's probably close to 400 of them. And the question is do we know each other? Do we recognize each other? We want to invite people to really encounter one another anew, and to enter into conversation, to enter into a circle. And I'm using the word circle intentionally. Nancy and I and Bruce and were just at a regional meeting on reconciliation, and the power of the restorative justice circle was really very apparent. And what would it be like for us to really be able to enter into a conversation with another mission sponsoring organization and really be open, really be straight, forthright with them. This is what we're dealing with. This is what we see as our strengths. These are what we see as our challenges. That might lead to some coordination of activities, that might lead to some collaboration. So that's our fourth priority. And Nancy, since you were part of the board meeting, or Bruce, having heard this probably now 4 times, any thoughts about these?
Well, I think they are priorities which shows a true picture of what we want to be as a church, and that's collaborators. No one today, and we see this in LCWR that I participate in, other organizations, that no one has all the answers. So for me, the process is as important as what the end is. I also feel that the more that we could learn from each other, even if it's within our own circle, the better we are, because we sometimes, you just don't have a mind for everything. I'm very sorry, but I have to close at 2.
Okay.
Because the room that I'm in was scheduled for 2.
Okay.
I
Well,
thank you. I thank everybody for being here. And if you have any feedback for us, I'd appreciate if you would send it to Don so we can review that.
thanks.
You very much.
Thanks, Nancy. Just so everybody knows, it is at 3 o'clock and we're mindful of the time. We're going to wrap up here in just a second. Bruce, do you have anything that you want to mention about the 4 priorities?
Well, I think the one thing here, and I'll just sort of pick up where Nancy left off on it, is what I see our relationship with the USCMA is that we as a mission group of many years has the ability to do a lot of things within our own diocese. But there's many other groups around the United States that are trying to do mission in their own way. And it's through the USCMA that we all can come together and share those ideas. So what one group may be doing very well can also learn a new skill from somebody else. And to me, that's the great thing that you provide, Don, for us, is this ability to have that conversation and that we all learn what is best practices for the idea of mission. And it broadens our understanding of what mission is. I may come to one of the meetings and say, we never even thought about doing that with our group. So I can take that back home. And likewise, I can say, Don, here's something we've done. And everybody might else say, well, that's a great idea. So it's that sharing, that relationship that we have among each other. This is the great thing that you're doing for us. And hopefully everybody else will be able to chime in and see the value of what is out there so that they can build a mission program that gets out there and really gives people the opportunity to see the gospel in action and to let it experience it in their lives. This is something we need to do worldwide.
Right. Yes, thank you very much. Jerry, this is probably the first time you've heard this. Any thoughts?
Well, no, I congratulate you on this, because this great explosion of interest in mission and people moving, but it needs so much guidance and coordination. So whatever you can do, keep it up. And I think the people will appreciate it so much.
Great. Thank you. Again, if any of you have some comments about that, or if you want to reflect on this, feel free to send me an email, put a comment in the box. We'd really appreciate any feedback that you might have. Last thing, again, next steps. The one question I have is want to be respectful of all the different things that are going on. What we want to do is to find out what your needs are. So if you think about your needs, or if you'd like to talk with them about your needs, again, please send me an email, or put something in the chat. Father Lawrence just said thank you. He's new to the mission office, and it's just good to know about USCMA. So thank you very much, Father Lawrence, for being a part of us. Like to just offer that maybe we could meet again. Maybe in 6 months we could meet again, the mission officers, both diocesan as well as religious, as well as others, just to begin to look at how we can start to frame some of these activities to meet your needs, to address what your needs are in your diocese. Again, as Bruce said, maybe to share some best practices, So I'm really pleased with all of you who've signed up for today, and we'll do this again in about 6 months. And again, I would really hope that you think long and hard about those 3 major things that we're offering. One is obviously the forming the mission parishes. 2 is the conference. I think this will be a real rich opportunity for us to come together as a missionary community to really reflect on what it means to be missionary when we don't have to go to the people are coming to us. I mean, that's a new dynamic in mission. And as was mentioned earlier, we do have missionaries who have come from other countries that are now here in the United States. How do we incorporate them into the missionary community and learn from them and help them, support them, accompany them? So we always want to keep in touch with our close values, our mission values of encounter and accompaniment. Encounter and accompaniment. Jerry, Bruce, last words as we are getting ready to bring this to a close. Bruce?
Well, all I can say is to encourage people to look at how they're called to be in mission, and that there's no one definition of what mission is. Each person has that calling that they have to shape to what makes sense for them. But I certainly hope that everybody can find the sense of mission and be part of it. It's a great experience, and it will enrich your life and really give you the opportunity to proclaim the gospel message.
Thanks. Jerry, any final thoughts from you?
I'll be going down to Chile tomorrow, but there's a whole new movement going on down there. It's extremely different, and this is happening in a number of countries in a number of environments. So I think the challenges are there for us, and we have to continue sharing and encouraging one another to stay in there and be the leaders in all of this happening.
Yeah, that's really true. And again, I mean, one of the things that Jerry and I have worked on is this whole 3rd wave of mission. And so we are really in the throes of globalization. And we're not quite sure where this wave is taking us, because it certainly has changed course. There was this kind of a movement to really, almost on homogenization, if you will, of culture. And now there's a lot of pushback about that. And now there's pushback about the pushback. And so there's a lot that's going on. And it's going to have a significant impact. And we're called, as Mother Teresa, Saint Teresa said so well, we're not called to success, we're called to faithfulness. And so the question is what does it mean to be faithful? Where is Jesus sending us today? And that's what we're always trying to discern. Well, again, thank you very much. Any thoughts you have, feel free to drop me an email. And when I end this, it's going to be a little bit abrupt, so don't take it personally. But thank you very much. God bless you all, and have a holy Advent. God bless.
Bye now.